Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be going over how to spot a narcissist. Although NPD is something that needs to be diagnosed by a licensed expert, there are still some really clear warning signs to look out for to make sure that you avoid dating a narcissist. No one wants to be on the end of manipulative behavior, so this video is really just to show you guys some warning signs to look out for to make sure that you aren't blinded by love and end up dating someone who is narcissistic. So before we get started, I do think it's important to fully understand what a narcissist is. So narcissism is a disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance. So basically this is selfishness at an extreme level and normally an inability to care about others' feelings at all. So in the most recent edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it lists 9 criteria for NPD, but it also specifies that someone only technically needs to meet 5 of them to clinically qualify as a narcissist. And something else to keep in mind is that many people have traits or characteristics of a narcissist, maybe a few of them, but technically aren't clinically diagnosed. So again, these are just warning signs to look out for, things to keep in mind, maybe when you're meeting new people, going on dates, or maybe reflecting on if you're a narcissist or not. These are just things to keep in mind. So now I'm going to go through specific things that you can look out for, things that you should be paying attention to when you're meeting new people. Maybe you're on a first date. These are things that you might definitely notice if you're out on a date with a narcissist. So number 1 is an excessive need for validation, praise, or attention. This could be from you, from strangers on the internet. People who are narcissists actually have very low self-esteem. I know sometimes when you meet them, it might seem like they're very confident, but they're actually using that fake confidence to mask an incredibly low self-esteem and require that constant appraisal, validation, and attention from the person that they're dating or just from strangers around them in general. So someone like this might fish for compliments. They might say something like, "Oh, I hate the way my hair looks today," and kind of fish for you to tell them how great they look or how amazing they are. They're going to be fishing for those compliments on a date if you're not actively giving it to them. You might also notice a person like this not actually making it out on a date with you, and maybe they're just using you for validation and attention on the dating apps. They just want that attention from you. They don't necessarily even want to go out with you. They just want the attention that you give them. So again, you might see this a lot on social media, and it seems like there's an influx of narcissists because of how much we use social media and people posting selfies all the time, looking for that validation and attention. But again, keep in mind, people can have some characteristics of a narcissist, but technically not be one. But this is considered a narcissistic behavior. Number 2 is they hog the conversation. Have you ever been on a date with someone who just sits and talks about themselves the entire date, doesn't ask you any questions, doesn't try to get to know you at all? They are just going on and on and on about themselves. And you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, when is this person going to stop talking about themselves or ask me a question? And the answer is never. They might mentally check out when you start talking or interrupt you frequently when you're not even done talking. So a psychotherapist named Jacqueline Kroll actually says that narcissists love to constantly talk about their own accomplishments and achievements with grandiose. They do this because they feel better and smarter than everyone else, and also because it helps them create an appearance of being self-assured. So to round this one out here, number 1, they don't stop talking about themselves. There's no equal sharing going on. They're talking about themselves the entire date. Maybe they're talking about how successful they are. They're bragging. They are just going on and on about everything they've done, but they don't ask you anything. And number 2, they really don't engage with you when you start talking or you bring up something else that maybe is not about them necessarily. So they might mentally check out, interrupt you when you're talking because they want to get back on track to talking about themselves. So these are pretty easy things to spot when you're out on a date with someone. I've definitely been on dates like this before where it was clear as day and this person was like showing me every photo in their camera roll, talking about everything they've done in their life, but wasn't letting me talk or asking me anything. So again, it's normally very easy to spot. Don't miss this one. Number 3, they have no long-term friends. So take a look at the people they surround themselves with, maybe their circle that they hang out with. Are they all newer friends that maybe they only have for a short period of time? Maybe the relationships are very surface level. These are really important things to keep in mind because someone who is a narcissist is unable to maintain those long-term friendships and relationships. So they might not have many or any at all long-term relationships or friendships in their life. So dating someone like this might also look like them getting mad at you when you say you want to go hang out with your friends because they don't have any of their own, or they don't have any meaningful, deep connections with people. So then they try to make you feel guilty about the fact that you do. So also pay attention to the quality of their friendships and relationships. Do they only hang out with people when they can benefit from them? Do they only hang out with someone when they're getting something out of them? Is it very surface level and shallow? Or do they have meaningful, deep connections with people? Really take a look again at the people that they surround themselves with. I think you can learn a lot about a person by looking at who they associate with the most. If they're all short term and they're going through friends like hotcakes, I think this is a really big red flag that you should definitely look out for. Number 4, they're overly charming. So this one is kind of tricky because I think in the beginning of any relationship, things are very fun and exciting, and this person just totally sweeps you off your feet. But this can be dangerous, and I think it's really important to not put your blinders up when it comes to this, because overly charming is actually not a good thing. This also might be considered love bombing. Maybe they're telling you about the future they want with you, that they're already in love with you after a week of knowing you. If you think it's too good to be true, it probably is, and I think there are a lot of people who do this in the beginning. Again, they're overly charming, they're overcompensating, they're trying to create that superficial connection that really isn't there yet in order for you to already feel some connection with them and for them to be able to manipulate you. So again, don't ignore this one. I know it can seem in the beginning like sunshine and rainbows and everything's great, but this can actually be a really big warning sign. Number 5, they never apologize and they think they're always right. This is the person who is always pointing fingers at everyone else, playing the victim, who never takes accountability if they do something wrong because they simply don't think they did anything wrong. They never think they're wrong, they never apologize, and chances are they make you feel guilty and end up apologizing for something that you didn't even do. So the people that always think they're right, I know that you've probably met one in your life, a Miss Know-It-All or a Mr. Know-It-All. These are people that are really just a bummer to be around, and people who think that there's no room to grow or evolve because they simply already know it all. They think they're better than you, they think they're smarter than you, and they think that you couldn't possibly teach them anything that they don't already know, and therefore think that they're never wrong. So beware of this type of person. Again, just a huge bummer to be around. Number 6 is they gaslight you. So I know that gaslighting is a really hot topic and term on the internet right now, but that doesn't make it any less serious because it is a form of emotional manipulation. It's a form of manipulation and emotional abuse where they try to control you by augmenting and distorting your sense of reality. So to give an example here, I actually have a personal story, unfortunately, to share with all of you. So I dated a guy who was following and liking a bunch of pages of naked girls or girls in bikinis, and I had brought up to him that it made me a little bit upset. So instead of apologizing or acknowledging that he was doing something that made me upset, he proceeded to say, "You're so insecure, and maybe if you were more confident, it wouldn't bother you." Instead of just, again, taking accountability for the fact that he was doing something hurtful. He was never wrong, he was always pointing fingers, and he flipped it around on me and made me feel like I was crazy and all this stuff in order to kind of deflect and take the blame off of him. So really big red flag. I should have ran for the hills at this point, but you know, we've all been there. So again, they'll try to turn it around on you and distort your reality. They'll say things like, "You should know how important you are to me," or things like that that really just make you question why you're feeling that way. And not in a healthy way that's just the two of you communicating. It's really like pointing fingers at you, and again, never admitting that they're wrong. Number 7 is a lack of empathy, and this one is like the hallmark characteristic of a narcissist. A narcissist is unable to feel what another person is feeling or feel any sort of empathy for another human. Narcissists lack the skill to make you feel seen, validated, or accepted because they don't grasp the concept of feelings. Some examples here is, do they ask you how your day was? Do they even care? Do they lack interest when you express how you're feeling or your emotions? These are really important things to keep in mind when you're dating a narcissist, maybe when you're in a relationship. If this person doesn't seem to care at all about your emotions or how you're feeling, could be a big red flag. Number 8, they're entitled. Narcissists normally have a superiority complex and act like, again, like I mentioned earlier, they're better than you, they're smarter than you, they're prettier than you, whatever it is. It could be a million different things, but it's more than someone else. They might even go as far as to be rude to someone that they feel is below them in some way. So pay attention here to how they treat others. Maybe when you're out to dinner, they're rude to the service worker. They're rude to someone who they feel is below them in some way. This could really be applied in so many different situations, but again, something to look out for. How do they treat people that they feel are below them or maybe not up to their level? Or do they act like they're better than people? I think that's a big red flag in its own, is thinking that they are entitled to special treatment or behavior, or act like they're so much smarter or better than people in general. They want the people that they're around to constantly be treating them like they're special or better in some way, and don't want to be treated like every other common human being. One big thing that I've noticed a lot is this princess mentality that's going around on TikTok, and I think this is definitely a narcissistic behavior that, again, is a big red flag for all of you to look out for when you're on dates with people. If they have that princess mentality and act entitled to things, big red flag. Number 9, they're envious. They're often envious of others who might have more than them, or they think that everyone is envious of them. They also will put the people that they envy down and pick apart reasons as to why they should not be admired in order to feel better about themselves. And they have a hard time accepting that someone has more than them, or someone is smarter or better or prettier. So when they feel that intimidation or envy, it often results in them putting people down or saying really mean things about people that they might not even know. So an example here is if you're talking to a girl and maybe you say a girl is pretty and she says something to you like, well, she's only pretty because she's got a face full of makeup on, and it's just really snotty about it, or has to kind of like diminish other people's shine or beauty in order to feel good about herself. I think that's a big red flag in general. Even if she's not a narcissist, I think that's a behavior that should not go unnoticed. So keep that in mind. So again, guys, these are just things to keep in mind when you're going on dates with people, when you're meeting new people. If you're doing some self-reflecting and think that you might have some narcissistic behaviors, definitely keep these things in mind and maybe do some self-reflection here. I did a lot of research for this video. Obviously, I am not a licensed professional when it comes to narcissism or anything medical, but I do think it's important to know these things when you're dating around, and I of course don't want any of you to be on the end of manipulative behavior, and I think this is a really important topic to educate yourself about. So I'm going to link some articles down below if you want a little bit more details, if you want to learn more about narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder. I'm going to put some links in the description for some articles for you guys to check out. So after watching this video, let me know down in the comments below if you think you've ever dated a narcissist, or if you yourself might be a narcissist. I think it's really important to be self-aware and understand these things about yourself. So let's get a conversation going down in the comments and share our personal stories. That's all I have for this video, guys. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.